Okay, so going into this idea now of writing this story, having it come out of, this place of, okay, God, what is this thing that you're bringing to the surface? Let me do this one more time. We have time to do this. Okay, really ask the Lord, Lord, what is it that you want me to write about? Because I believe that too many things to write about is just a hindrance and a distraction of the enemy. Mm-hmm. He wants you to have so many things to write about that you never start, right? You never pick one. And so, or you have 15 things kind of started, right? But no, the Lord will pick an order for these things. So say in a class, I'm in the class, and I'm teaching, and then all of a sudden I tell a story. Okay, where did that story come from? Or I'm praying for someone, and I'm like, where did that idea come from? That's dumb, right? It doesn't go with this right now. Or maybe you're thinking, I would have picked 5 different stories, God. Why are you servicing that one? But he always has a reason, and it's always about timing. And it's always about, there's an underlying purpose for what he wants to do. So let's just say one day I was, this is a shorter story. I was praying for a lady, and she was in school of ministry, and she's moving into administration and leadership and really coming into her own and her giftings and all these things, right? And I'm praying for her, and one thing that I've learned, and I love this, I really learned this from Pastor Rollo. He was talking about words of knowledge and having the Lord really show you and trusting them. I do it in teaching all the time now. But it's like all of a sudden that thought, and he said it's almost like a thought that invades your natural thought. And it doesn't make sense to the situation sometimes. It's like it intrudes, right? And usually we just dismiss it. Think, that's weird. But he said sometimes, why don't we just like have that intruding thought, think about it and say, in a group like this, does that mean anything to anybody? So I'm praying for this lady, and she's agreed in prayer, right? You're feeling like, this is good, God. This is a great prayer going on here. And it's this idea of her, maturing into leadership and administrative gifts and all these things that's going on, how long she's desired this, and now her family's getting to the age where she can do more things, and here we're praying for these things. And all throughout this prayer that I'm praying for her, all I'm seeing is the cover of the 5 love languages of marriage. I don't even know she's married. I know she has kids, so she probably is, right? But I'm like, it's just literally, I have my eyes closed praying for her, keeps being a picture in my head that's distracting me, and I keep pushing it away. And all of a sudden I almost laugh because I think, what's the very thing I told the Lord? I really love how he does this. Is, and when I'm teaching, it happens with story. But now all of a sudden I'm praying, and it's happening with this dumb book. Gary Chapman, 5 love languages. So anyway, I finished praying for her, and it's very distracting. This book is just distracting me, right? So finally I get done praying for her, and I said, I just have a question. And I start to justify the whole thing. I'm like, well, there's this book that kind of it's pretty popular back in the, she's just looking at me like, huh? And I said, I don't know if this means anything to you, but it's Gary Chapman book. It's the 5 love languages of marriage. And she goes, what? Does that mean something? She's like, I'm embarrassed to tell you what it means. I go, what? Well, last night, I'm getting ready to go to bed, and my husband and I have been having troubles for about 2 years, and we started going to counseling, and 2 years ago, the counselor told us the first thing we needed to do was read the book, The 5 Love Languages of Marriage. And I looked up on our bookshelf, and I pulled it off of my bookshelf, and I shook it at my husband and threw it on my nightstand last night and told him we were supposed to read that. What do you think that means? I'm like, wow, right? I'm like, I'm praying for all your giftings and your callings to come alive, and you got business to do, girl. Right? I said, well, I can tell you what I know that it means, and number 1, it means you should never shake a book at your husband, so you need to go home and apologize. I said, number 2, I think it's pretty darn important. And what the Lord is saying, that he wants you to walk in your call and your destiny. But there's something in that book that's going to fix your marriage, and you've got to have a healthy marriage in order for your ministry to ever do anything right. It's got to come together. You've got to get healing. And that book is a big piece of that, obviously. Well, she went home, and she told her husband, I guess, that night, and several weeks later I saw them in the foyer of the main sanctuary, and they were standing there together with their arms around